Hello, hello! David Snowpeck here. Welcome to the stream. You guys ready to do some game development with Godot? I hope so, because that's what we're doing. Please feel free to say hi in the chat so I know I'm not here all by myself, talking to the internet void. Usually we like to start the stream with some playtesting. But Elliot, who is my most reliable playtester, I know is not going to be able to come to the stream today. So if anyone is interested in playtesting, please say something in the chat. We usually playtest the web version of the game because it's just the easiest to distribute, but the Steam builds are now approved, and I have Steam keys, and I'd really love to test the Steam version. The Steam version it has the same like GDScript code base as the other version, but the binaries are different. It's using a different compiled version of Godot with the Steam integration built in. And even though the same code is there, there's code that only gets executed on the Steam version. So I'd really, really love to test that. Right now, like that Steam integration, all it's doing is verifying that you own the game and logging you into the server via Steam, which I'd really love to get more testing on. Only, I think, like 4 or 5 people have tested it so far. I've only had Steam keys since Tuesday, maybe? I can't remember exactly. So, yeah, let me know. If you want a Steam key, please join the Discord, which I need to get my Discord window up over here. I won't see if anyone's saying anything. And send me a DM. We do daily playtesting sessions. I'd love to get more people involved in that. We do them at kind of a weird time. I'm thinking about sending a survey to the Discord group to see like when everyone's around and when people can make it to the playtesting session. But yeah, usually on stream we play the game together a bunch. If you are willing, please join the Discord and DM me to get a Steam key. If not, if that's too much, we can always playtest the web version as well, which doesn't require installing anything on your machine. Yeah. Speaking of Steam, this is what the page looks like if you have it installed, which, I don't know, it's not... I have no art skills. So I've just been reusing the game art, which is free art assets from Kenny and Al, who makes great, free game assets, and so I've just been kind of reusing them for every piece of art. And here's just like a sort of made up scene that this isn't gameplay footage. I actually placed all the little things there to make it. So yeah, I'll just keep talking for a couple of minutes to see if anyone wants to get a Steam key or do playtesting or whatever. Just like let me know in the chat. A quick review of the things that have happened since the last stream. Like I just mentioned, Steam finally approved my build, so I have Steam keys, which is awesome. I set up automatic signing of the macOS build and also notarization with Apple. That's all done with GitLab CI. Oh, I actually have the right thing up here. So here's the pipeline. This is just like one pipeline that ran, I guess, yesterday sometime. Of the Steam branch, which kicks off all of these version, and then it does this special sign build for macOS, which this will sign the build with my developer key that I have registered with Apple, and then it will actually upload it to a web service that Apple has to notarize the build. They're doing some kind of like automatic scanning, and then I think they do like a checksum of the binary and then store it on file. So then later, when someone on a macOS machine runs that build, it'll like just say, "Does this hash match one of our known safe hashes?" Yes, okay. This is okay to run. But it's kind of an annoying process. Because it involves this sending it to a web service and then waiting. This one right here, it looks like it took about 3 minutes to run. The longest I've seen them take to run in my experience is 5 minutes. I've heard people say that like every once in a while it'll take like 5 hours. And imagine you're like trying to get a bug fix out or something, and it's like, okay, we fixed it. It's working. Do the build. So many minutes later it does the build, and then hours later finally Apple notarizes it, and then you can deploy it, which would really suck. But anyway, I have that done. It has to run on a Mac OS machine, which is interesting. I don't personally have one, but I have with this Mac and Cloud service where you basically like rent the ability to use a Mac Mini that's in a data center somewhere. And so in order for these builds to run, I have to make sure that I'm logged into my Mac and Cloud account, which is what's happening right here. And then that just starts up the GitLab CI runner, which is just running in the background on that machine. And then when this job happens, it sends, the job off to that machine, it does its work, and then it sends the resulting files back to GitLab CI to go to the next phase in this process, which is uploading to Steam. And, Steam has some great command line tools for, sending the builds. So that's all automated, which I'm super excited about. I don't know why I decided to start my Mac and Cloud, and now it's just taking forever. Probably because I'm streaming. Streaming video and also trying to stream down. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Is it going to start? And there it is. Oh, open up to my Steam. Yeah, because I was also testing that the game ran on macOS, which has also been a headache. So I had this notarization thing done and working on like Monday, and it worked on like all macOS versions that I could test, including macOS Catalina, which is what this is, what my Mac and Cloud is, but not macOS Big Sur, the most recent one, which is what my friend Elliot uses, and he's the most frequent playtester. So I really wanted it to work for him, and it took until yesterday morning to finally figure out what was wrong with macOS Big Sur, and got that taken care of. I think I'm just gonna close this. I don't want more network things happening while I'm trying to stream. So anyway, that's done, and that's awesome. I feel so relieved to have macOS working. And then as far as like coding and stuff, I've started doing a bunch of refactoring, which I think is what we're going to continue doing on stream. I know it's not the most exciting thing, but I also want the things that we're doing on stream to be useful to the game. Last week, I had a lot of fun on stream. It was a great time, but but I ended up kind of throwing out the rest. And I'd still like to implement the functionality that we were trying to implement last time. But I don't know, I had it in my mind that we needed to like get something working really fast because it's a stream, it needs to be exciting. And so I kind of was writing sloppy code and just trying to wedge things in there, and it was no good, and I had to toss it all out. And so I started refactoring the code base to accommodate kind of like the right way to implement different game modes, and I got pretty far. I didn't get it done. My hope was to get all the refactoring done by this morning, and then we could just work on like adding new game modes. But no, I didn't. I was up super late, and I'm super tired working on that refactoring. So if I do some weird loopy things, feel free to call me out because I'm sleep deprived. Anyway, so to talk about the refactoring, I moved around a bunch of the files to make it a little bit more organized. There's still more organization that needs to be done. Since this started as a game jam game, it's kind of a disaster that way. But that's not that interesting. The most interesting thing is the game used to have kind of like a big mega scene, which was this main scene that was responsible for so much stuff. Like it showed the title screen, it did all of the login screens, it hosted the actual game sub-scene that played the game. And it was a big tangled spaghetti mess. It still is a little bit of a big tangled spaghetti mess because we're not done refactoring. But that's what made it so hard to, inject this new functionality on stream last week. So I had the thought, I think it was Wednesday night. I think I was like unable to sleep late at night Wednesday night because of the stupid macOS Big Sur thing was like haunting my dreams. And I had the thought that I should break this big mega scene up into a bunch of smaller scenes, and that started with breaking up the sort of the scene that is in charge of battling and the scene that's in charge of practicing. Ooh, bugs. It's not working. Oh, okay. Yeah, my refactoring didn't quite make it over here yet, so this needs to be game setup players, and then game start with no arguments. Let's see if that works. Hey, okay. So originally, it was the main scene that was responsible for both the practice mode and the battle mode. And the way that it did that is there's basically just like a variable that was like, are we in practice mode or not? And not exactly that, because the variable was actually about like, are we playing online or offline? And then that sort of got conflated to be like practice mode or battle mode. And this game is never really intended to be played offline anyway. I have no plans to add an offline mode in the future or anything. So that whole distinction, I ended up just getting rid of. But this sort of variable that was checking, are we, in practice mode or not in practice mode, led to like 50 lines of code just like scattered all over the place, checking this variable to see what we should do in all these different situations. And that was just like a ton of, jank and complexity. And so what I ended up doing was we have the main scene, and we have now a separate practice scene, which is responsible just for the game in practice mode. And I was able to remove all of those checking of this variable, and the code for the practice scene, which we saw a moment ago because it was broken, is now just these 20 lines of code segregated over here into this one little area. And I was able to remove all of those conditional checks. So the whole rest of the game can assume that we're in multiplayer, and just these bunch of lines. I'm doing something that's maybe inadvisable over here. So rather than checking are we online or offline, when we're offline, which is not very important because we're not really ever offline, this is just like to let people play around and figure out the controls. It's creating like a faux multiplayer. We're essentially setting up WebRTC multiplayer, but with no peers connected. It's peer-to-peer with no peers. And that basically just allows us to make RPC calls. And so if we make RPC calls to ourselves, Godot will just like call that function. Whereas if we didn't set up this like fake multiplayer and we tried to make an RPC call to ourselves, it would error. It'd say you're not connected to any multiplayer. So we don't care about real single player, so we're just doing this little trick to allow us to have all of our code just work as if it's connected online. And then like it just starts the game. Before in main, like everything that happened had to check like, are we in practice mode? Like a player was killed. What happens in practice mode? Like, okay, well, we do this, and whereas in online mode, we do this. All of these different things, and now we don't have to. So that was the first part. And that was easy, and that was obviously good. And then I was looking at the main scene and thinking about, could we break this up even more? So the main scene, most of the code in it is preoccupied with the UI to get you connected to the server. So I go battle here, and actually you don't see it because it saved my credentials. I will go delete my credentials. So the credentials are stored in this encrypted JSON file. I delete that. Let's start the game back up again. Hopefully it didn't like resave the credentials. No, it didn't. Okay, so it gives you this login screen. We log in, and we do a match, and then once we find a match with somebody else, it does this ready screen, and then it mostly just like gets out of the way and lets the game scene do its thing, which the game scene is what is done in practice mode and in here, so it's basically just instancing that scene in two different places. So my thought was, at this point, when it's done doing that UI, it could be a whole different scene. And then this new scene would just be concerned with what happens in a match. And you'll notice that this is different than normal. Normally, one player would kill another player. It would say, you've lost, and the other player would say, you've won, and then it would show the score. And none of that is there yet because I haven't finished refactoring. I haven't finished moving that stuff from the main scene to this new scene, which I'm making, which is just in charge of the match. So I feel like I need to draw a picture. Here, I'll open up Sprite because I have Steam going here anyway. Oh man, I always type that wrong. Let's make a nice big sprite. I don't know, 1024 by 1024. Go for it. Ooh, and I kind of wanted a white background. There we go. So we have the title screen. Let's grab some text. How do you do text in Sprite again? Man, I use too many things. I do a lot of stuff in, what's the other one I'm always using? The online one. I've been using Pixelorama a little bit lately, but, oh man, I can't even think of the name of the one that I use the most. Text. Oh, geez. Oh, geez. Stream embarrassment time. Or sleep deprivation time. I'm not sure. Okay. Well, we'll close we'll close this. And we'll do I just want to doodle, man. I just want to doodle. Do the GIMP. Or I could just like do something with graph nodes in Godot. Like that's a way to draw some boxes. I don't know. Oh, I already have the GIMP open. It's just not in this window. Oh, I don't want to mess with that. Okay, maybe I won't draw. Or is there like a Google Doc thing that is easy to draw in? This is how you know I'm not very experienced at streaming, because I don't have like a thing on hand to draw little pictures. Google Drawings. Okay. I'm liking it. Where's just like drawing? Do I get some boxes? All right, boxes are good. Hey, and can I throw some text in there? Awesome. Okay. So we have the title scene. And it can go to this practice scene. And right now, we're having it go to, or over to a main scene. Which can then send you over to a match scene. Oh, and this isn't like infinite canvas? Okay, I guess I gotta shift these things around. And we can draw some lines. Let's get some lines going. How do we do lines? To do this? Ooh, arrows. Well, they're bidirectional, so that's what? How do I draw this line? So I gotta pick something? Oh, come on, Google thing. Elbow connector? That sounds brilliant. Let me elbow connect. Okay. There, that's nice. Oop, but it didn't work. Hey, okay. As far as impromptu drawings go, this isn't the worst. And a line here. Okay. So we have these separate scenes. The part that I'm working on now is the handoff between the main and the match scene, and then to add our match, where people can configure match modes, I'm thinking we put something in between main and match. So it would go title scene to main scene to like match configuration scene to match scene, and then we'd sort of go back and forth between match and match configuration until the session, because we have like three things. We have a session, which is like a bunch of players getting together to play, a match, which is sort of like a unit of playing, and then those matches can sometimes be broken down into rounds depending on the match mode that you're doing. Some match modes don't have rounds, some do. So once the whole session is over, we go back to main, and then you can get connected with a different set of players if you want. The thing is, the complication here is that switching from the main and match scene, I'm a little bit worried about. It could add some instability to the whole game. And so I'm not sure if I'll keep it. I want to try it because it makes the architecture so clean. It'll make it so much easier to write the code for the match and the code for the match configuration. But the reason that it's potentially unstable is that we're using Godot's high-level multiplayer API, which depends on the scene tree on all the different connected clients being identical. So you have to have the same scene tree on all clients, and then one client can make an RPC call to a node on another client. And if we are changing the scene from main to match, we have to make sure that all of the clients change the scene at the same time, finish changing the scene, and then let the host, who's kind of in charge for managing all of this process stuff, but otherwise isn't special in any way, the game is peer-to-peer, but then tell the host, like, okay, we're all ready, move us on to the next step. Because if they start trying to communicate before they've fully loaded up the same scene on all clients, bad things will happen. One client will be trying to tell a node on another client that it needs to do something, and that node might not be there. Or even worse, or just more confusing, there might be another node in the same spot. Like maybe in the main tree, there's a node at this particular node path, and also in the match scene, there's another node in the same spot in the node path, but because you're on the wrong scene, it won't do the thing you want it to actually do. So then you're like making an RPC to something totally unexpected, which could lead to instability and bugs. So we have to make sure that every time we are doing this scene change in kind of multiplayer mode, when a session has already started, that we coordinate the scene change. And so I wrote some code last night that attempts to do that, which is this remote operations singleton. And I made it kind of generic in that we can perform any kind of remote synchronized operation, with the idea that the main thing I want to do is change scenes. Although I did end up adding another operation, which is just sort of like generically making an RPC call, where we make this RPC call on all clients, and then we're told when it's completed on all clients, which is just a maybe more generalized version of the scene change thing, but also a little bit less complicated. Scene changes are kind of a mess, because the code that's initiating the scene change is probably code that's attached to a node in that scene, right? So it can't even really reliably be told that the scene change has completed, because it's code on a node that no longer exists. So like that script's already been unloaded, which is why we have to hand this off to something to be done in a singleton, because a singleton will keep living no matter where the scene goes. So I had to have a bunch of like logic in the scene change thing to account for that as well. Anyway, the kind of general way that this works is that we have these operation objects, host operation and client operation, which kind of act as like tickets that each side is holding. So the host is going to initiate this operation, and it gets a host operation object to watch for this completed signal. So it'll get this operation, it can connect to or yield on the completed signal to know when the operation is done on all clients. And then the client operations are also passed this client operation object, which they use to tell the host that they're done. They call this mark done method, and they can either say it was successfully done or unsuccessfully done, which will change the response that the host gets on the completed signal. The completed signal gets a Boolean for success, and then it can decide what it's going to do, which is also a sort of weird thing to account for. Like in all the places in the code where I've like, okay, so now I've got this success Boolean. What do I do if it's false? And I think like maybe the only thing we can do is just like give up on the whole match. Like we could retry, but that's going to get weird. Like, so let's say one of the clients fails, two of the clients have succeeded, and one isn't done yet. And we get this failure, so we retry, that'll probably work fine on the 2 clients that have succeeded, because they'll just do it again. The one where it failed may or may not work. Like, the reason for the failure may be like the player's out of memory, like their computer's out of memory, so it's just never going to work. And the one that's not done yet, like, what's it going to do? You know? Because like the operation may not be synchronous. You know, it will load the scene and then has to do some other loading, which may require it doing other asynchronous operations that it's waiting for to be done. So I don't know, like retrying just seems dangerous, just seems like it create all kinds of weird instability. Anyway, I've tried to account for as much of this stuff as I can. Yeah, we have the methods for telling it to perform the operation, for marking it done. Oh, I have this timer that's checking for host operations that have just not completed, which is also like an edge case that can theoretically happen and will happen, right? In a network game, anything that can go wrong will definitely go wrong some percentage of the time for some users. So like it's checking every second to see if there's an operation that's older than 30 seconds. And if it is, then it'll, you know, mark it as a failure. Because there's, in the code that's making these operations, like it could do like yield on completed, which then creates a GDScript function state, which, you know, can be resumed to start back up in the same spot in that function when it's done. But if it never comes, your game just hangs. It just sits there. So like on the one hand, we have to make sure that it's always possible for the user to like hit the back button and get out, even if an operation is in progress. But we also should do something sensible if it just doesn't come back. Like we need to clean up. And the only way to clean up like a GDScript state, like a bit of, you know, a suspended function that's waiting to be resumed, is to resume it, which is kind of like the genesis of this success Boolean. You know, we have to resume that bit of code that's waiting for this to complete, and we have to tell it like, well, it didn't actually work, just to get rid of it, to get it out of memory. So anyway, that's all the infrastructure, and then I have these 2 actual operations, one for changing the scene, which has to do a little bit of funny business because, like I said, once the scene is changed, the code that has asked for the scene to be changed is probably unloaded. So what it actually does, rather than relying on that host operation object to tell the host that things have been completed, is that it will actually call this scene start method on the host. So it'll load the scene on all clients, including the host, calling this scene setup method with whatever dictionary the host decides to pass. This will be like, we'll have the configuration for this particular match, like it's in this mode with this time limit, this many wins to this many points to win. And so that's what will be passed in the info to like the match scene, so it knows what it's doing. Those individual scenes will have scene setup called on them with info. And then once everything is done, it'll grab what is now the current scene after all of them have successfully changed to the new scene and call scene start on the host. It's like all this acrobatics, like this whole dance to get a scene changed everywhere. And if it works, it'll make our code very simple and easy to work on. If it doesn't work, this will be a source of bugs and instability till the end of time. And what I'm hoping is that we can get this code stable enough that we can rely on it. And if we can, this code doesn't need to be edited like very often. Once it does what we want it to do, we can kind of just like stop looking at it forever. And the code that we are going to be editing like every day when we're trying to make this game better will be much simpler and easier to work with. And that is something to prioritize if you can. So where I'm at in that process, from staying up super late last night trying to make this go, is that I started separating the stuff from main into this match scene, and I haven't totally finished. So it's gotten to, yeah, let's just go through this really quick. So this is the match scene, which I don't have open. Let me open the actual scene part. I just have the script. Here. Yeah, so very simple, just a parent node, an instance of the game scene, which will actually like run the game, and then this UI layer, which we'll be able to use to put UI screens on, which in the context of the match scene, I think will just be a pause screen, or like when you go back, like a confirmation, like, do you really want to leave? Leaving will kick you out of the whole session, like yes or no. So not a lot of UI here, but it's nice to have the UI that we need just in this context segregated to this scene. And so when it loads, on each client, the scene setup is called, where we're given this match info, and we're not given anything right now because we don't have game modes yet. But when we do, it's going to stash it in this match info dictionary. It's going to call games game setup, and it's going to mark the operation as done, which actually should probably come at the very end. I don't know, I'm doing it in the middle. Drop that down here. And we show our back button, so we're able to quit. Anyway, this is the stuff that happens on every client. And then on the host, once everything is fully loaded everywhere, do I need to deal with the Boolean here? Is that handled automatically? The success Boolean. No, it's handled automatically. Okay, so if it's not successful, it tries to go to a fallback scene, which I think is just the main scene? Yes, to the main scene. And if it fails even to load the main scene, it will attempt to show this message. This seems not right. If it fails to load the main scene, we're like seriously in trouble. So then we alert, and if we don't fail to load it, we successfully load it. This isn't quite right. This isn't quite right at all. So at the end of get tree change scene, the scene tree hasn't been replaced because it won't be until we exit this method. And so this is going to be a hugely unreliable thing to do. We want to tell the user somehow that we've had an issue. But how do we deliver that message reliably? We could just do an OS alert. We kind of expect this to not happen. Well, no, we do. This could happen. This one could happen. We expect this one to hopefully never happen unless like the user's out of memory or having some other catastrophic system problem. But this one could happen. How do we show the user a message? So we're trying to change them back to that scene. We know the structure of the main scene, but how do we get access to it now? Like, we basically want to do this. But after this has completed, so maybe what we need to do is not do this part. We want to actually like kick off a new remote operation, but we don't want to do a remote operation. We just want to, or no, okay, so this is going to be called on the host. Wow, this is why this is hard to reason about. So it's been unable to complete. We don't know why or where it's been unable to complete. Like, okay, if we can't load the fallback scene, we are in like catastrophic disaster territory. So here, how about we just exit? What is that? Quit? It's just straight up quit? Okay. thought it was like request quit or something. And if we are able to load the fallback scene, we need to tell the user something. And maybe for now, because we don't have a slick way to do this, like ideally what we would do is exactly this. Like we know that what the main scene looks like. We could show a message there, except at this exact moment in the code, we don't actually have access to it. And we can figure out how to get access to it. That's like doing a deferred, like we're doing up here, call deferred. And then we would just need like a catastrophic failure method to call. I can't wait till we have lambdas in Godot 4, because then we could do a lambda here and then not have to create a new method with like another insane name. I like all these private methods. I give these really long insane names because I know I'm going to forget what they're there for. So yeah, we'll do change scene host operation total failure. There we go. And so then we can take this code, throw it over here. And so at this point, actually, let me write the call deferred before I forget to do it. Call deferred. Change scene host operation total failure. Yeah, so unable to change scene. Do we want to pass what the scene was? That'd be kind of nice to like pass along what the scene was. Do we have access to that information? We have, okay, where does change scene, change host scene information? Yeah, we could pass it along. I guess that's the path. So, path, change scene host operation completed. Operation completed. Path. And then we would pass it along here. Does this take, yeah, it takes just var args. And change scene. We'll say the name of the scene, which will confuse users, but will help debug any problems they report. Okay. I think that looks better. I think that has a chance of actually working in practice. Okay. How long have we been going here? Ooh, making slow progress today. All right. Anyone who may have joined to the stream recently, if you want to playtest the game, we can playtest it together. I would love to playtest the Steam version. If you are interested in that, please join the Discord. There's a link in the bottom of the screen somewhere, and just send a DM to me and I can send you a Steam key. We can jump in and play around if Retro Tank parties shoot each other up for a little bit. Otherwise, I am pressing on refactoring some of this code in the game. All right, so where was I before I went down that thing? Okay, so we were talking about, so this setup is called, and at this point we'll know that everything was a success. We can't even get here if it wasn't a success. And then same deal for here, scene start. We can't get here unless, or no. So this actually could be a failure. We're just, okay, in this one, everyone's doing it asynchronously. All the different clients are running the setup at the same time. And then here, we know we can't get to unless it's a success, which will start the game for real. All right. And I added this code, which isn't used yet, which is to restart the game, which is to basically do this same, like, have everyone set up asynchronously together, and then when they're done, call start, which is much easier to reason through than the whole, like, scene switching thing that we were just dealing with before. wins the success boolean. So if it's a success, we go to game start. If it's not, we quit the match. It's that simple. We need to actually call that at the end of each round to get that going. And yeah, the back button will stop the match and quit us out. Yeah. Okay, that's what we got. So what we need to move over is the game used to declare a winner, keep score. All of those things need to be moved over from the main scene over to here. So let's start with winning and losing. Yeah, so we need to make sure that when if we get disconnected or have an error, that we stop the match and kill the player who got disconnected. So all of this code needs to basically be moved from the main scene to the match scene. Where to put that? I guess below all this UI stuff. We'll sort this like I don't know the right way to sort it, but we'll sort as we go. We don't need to keep a track of a players array. Players ready. We don't need to keep track of. We do need to keep track of that in the main scene. I think I deleted this too quickly. Okay. So yeah, because we do need to keep track of errors and disconnections here. We also need to keep track of players leaving when we're still in the joining process. We don't need to kill them. That is something that needs to go in the match scene. This doesn't need to happen. We don't need to keep a players list. Players ready is still managed here, so we need to keep that. Let me just get rid of this players dictionary so Godot can tell me everywhere that it's used. Oh, we don't need to keep players score because that's not going to be the responsibility of the main scene anymore. All right, let's focus a little bit before I get too distracted. So yeah, this doesn't need to happen. I think the rest of this is good. This has to do with the ready tracking, which is totally a part of the main scene's job. Let's jump back to the match scene, and we're going to need to wire up a bunch of these ones. We can just copy the connect lines at the top here. Bring those over. I guess we don't have a ready. All right, so we're connecting to some signals from online match. We don't need this player status changed one. So error comes in, we show not match screen. That's not right. So if an error comes in, we show the message, and then what do? I guess we need to quit, but we want users to see the message, so we'll do get tree, create timer. Let's show users the message for 5 seconds, and we will yield timeout. All right, so that will wait 5 seconds, and then we'll quit the match. Actually, you know, in a lot of ways, it'd be nice to show them the message after they've quit. I wonder if we can pass a message back to main. I think we can. Let's not mess with that now. Let's keep this simple. Okay, and if we get disconnected, we still want to quit. We need to stop the game though, which we need to do before we quit. Because once this runs, we're going to start unloading the scene. So we want to quit before we do that. Or we want to stop the game running before we do that. So a player leaves, we say a player has left. Beautiful. We kill the player, also good. We don't care about players ready here. That is a different scene's problem. Okay. So we've moved that code over. Now, all this stuff. Yeah, we already represented this. Yeah, I guess we have to, so for keeping track of the score, let's I deleted the score variable, but we need to move it over here. So match info, but we need var player score. And so I don't think we actually need to reset it, because now that we have this scene structure, we're changing to this scene. This dictionary will be created for the first time when the match starts and destroyed when we leave the match. Yeah, simple. Totally unnecessary now that we're doing things the way we're doing them. So yeah, this also has clearing players ready, which is the same thing. We don't even need to track players ready progressively, because we're going to come back to the scene to reinitialize it. On game started. So this we need to do, but do we need to do it via a signal? Or can we just have a method that starts the game and then does these things at the same time? Let's look. So do game start, game start. Yeah. Maybe we can add our own method that does that. Might as well. Might as well. Do func game start, which we can take this. And oh, we can't do that, because this game start is only called on the host, and we need this to happen everywhere. So we do need to do this as a signal calling back to us. So I kind of like, since we're doing explicit signals, like I kind of like just keep doing them explicitly. Although we did bind one here in the scene. Yeah, we'll bind another one. Okay. So game started. Connect it to match. Let's move this up to the place where we are starting and stopping matches, so it kind of fits in with the logical flow. And we need to copy this code from main. Player dead. It says you lose. No, we won't even be in the scene when the player is losing. So this does not need to be here. Move that out of here. This scene is just worried about connecting to a session. So on player dead, we'll connect that signal as well. Awesome. Less things in the main scene. This stuff is a total disaster, and I'm very much looking forward to deleting it. But we can't yet, because this will be replaced once we set up like the different match types, the different game modes infrastructure. So for now, we're just going to keep it. We're just going to keep it. We're going to take it all the way over to the match scene. Don't need to worry about players ready. Does the player score, adds all that stuff up, shows the winner. Yeah, this stuff I don't think we need to do anymore because it's not possible. Yeah, okay. What we can do here is we can just quit. We'll wait not 2 seconds, but 5 seconds. And we will quit match. Why is this complaining? Player score, didn't I just add that? Oh, player score, players score. All right. And again, like, I don't like that it quits once there's a winner. That's something we'll need to change once we get the match modes going. But for now, it is fine. We just want to get back to the point where it worked exactly as it did before we started refactoring. So yeah, we need to bind to this game over signal. Show the winner. Oh, wait. No, so this isn't quite right. This isn't quite right. We don't quit every time. We only quit if it's the match. So we always wait. We'll say 5 seconds. It was 2 seconds before. That seems quick though if we're actually gonna like quit the match. And we'll say if is match, then we quit. And if it's not the match, then we restart. We'll call that restart function that we haven't used yet. Okay. Yeah, I don't like how jumbled up this stuff is. I have some kind of organization here on splitting up the game-related code. Well, actually, it doesn't matter because we're going to suck all the game-related code out of here at some point to have in like some kind of match manager object. So let's just leave it for now. But I generally don't like, this sort of mix of here's some UI stuff, here's some stuff with the online match, here's some stuff with the game. I like to break them all up into sections, kind of like we had here. We had gameplay methods and callbacks, online, UI. Yeah, we don't need to stop the game. Game isn't even here. This is commented out, but it is a bit of debug functionality that we want to have here. I'll put it, I don't know. It's hard to decide where to put things in this because it's so unsorted. Yeah, and actually, so this is the main scene. We can get rid of its reference to game entirely because it doesn't do anything with the game. That's all in the match object now. We can delete this completely. So main has no game. Whew. That feels good. Feels good. Let's look back at the main script a little bit, see what else we can remove and other errors we may have caused by just deleting that. So it's dealing with players ready. That's its main job. Once all the players are ready, it hands it off to the match scene. Has no gameplay callbacks. All right. Wow. Look at how little code there is in this main scene. It went from hundreds of lines, at the end of the game jam to now just like 68 lines. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Okay. Go look at the match scene. So it's got the game, it's got the UI. We're gonna need to build a new UI screen to replace what the ready screen used to do. Or do we? We don't. We don't. We can just restart. We wait 5 seconds and we restart. Oh, but we are gonna need to show the score. Okay, so we will need a UI screen separate from the ready screen. Can we reuse the ready screen? Oh, I hate that idea already. So the ready screen of all the screens is the most complicated because it serves this double duty of, well, like triple, quadruple duty, actually. When you're joining a private match, when you're creating a private match, when you've match made, and in between matches starting over again, like all those things are subtly different. And ready screen does them all. And that is why this dumb little screen is 115 lines of code. Actually more than that because it's got like a sub scene that does a bunch of stuff too. But yeah, I think we need to build a new UI screen to show the score in between rounds. And we are not going to copy the ready screen. In the spirit of splitting things up, we're gonna make a whole new UI screen. So I think we can start by copying it. No, I'm starting over fresh. I always copy scenes when I start new scenes, but this time I'm making a clean break. All right. Let's do it. I feel nervous about it for some reason. I feel strangely nervous about doing this. Well, actually, we don't need to do it yet. We should test this and see if it works. It won't tell us the score, but it should restart. And if we win 5 matches, we should get a winner. And let's maybe reduce that to 3 just for testing purposes. I'll leave a note here so I don't accidentally commit it, because I do want to commit something that does the same as before. So reset number of wins to 5. Okay, let's test it. Let's see if we wrote good code here. The handoff to the match scene. That worked. No crashes. So far, so good. I'll go kill the other me. And a crash. What do we got? Index 1. Base dictionary. That is interesting. Player ID 1. Player ID 1 should definitely exist. Let's look at online match. Come on, show me your members. Why aren't you showing me your members? Are players stored by session ID? They might be stored by session ID. That might be the whole thing. Let's go look at online match and see if they're stored by session ID or peer ID. Blah, blah, blah. I'm looking to see if we have a get player names by peer ID. Is there a get player by peer ID? That's like the method I want. Okay, players are definitely stored by session ID. Get player by. There is no get player by peer ID? Okay, well, we need to write that method. Get session ID for a peer ID. Oh, and we can even use that. We can say func get player by peer ID. Peer ID int. So far, session ID equals get session D peer ID. And it can be null, so we gotta say if session ID turn players session ID, and if not, return null. Okay, get player by peer ID. We will now take advantage of that. Get player by peer ID, player ID, player session ID. I don't know why we don't just pass the player object. I guess because it's over an RPC. Yeah, we'd have to serialize it to a dictionary to pass it over to RPC. All right, that's good. Looks good. Let's give it a try. Of course it crashes. Where does it crash? Name on base reference. What? Base reference. So it is a player object. Player objects have names, right? Don't they? Let's go look. Let's go look. Player username. Oh my god. Yeah, I wish there was more types throughout Godot so it could give me much better auto-completion. I also wish I had made a smaller map for testing, so I didn't have to have my little tank drive all the way over to the other side of the map just to kill him. All right, let's go. Hey, see Dsnopic wins the round. 5 seconds later, it restarts. 5 seconds may in fact be too long. I thought that 2 seconds was too short, but maybe 2 seconds is just right. Yeah, in light of not wanting to change things, I should just switch it back to 2 seconds. If 2 seconds was good enough before, 2 seconds is good enough now, at least until we start doing deeper gameplay changes here. It's good enough for the refactoring stage for sure. Dsnopic wins the whole match, and does it quit us out to the match screen? It does. Hey, hey. So far, so good. All right, let's kill these. I'm gonna quick change that back to, we'll change this one back to 5. Change this back to 2 seconds. What else do we need to get this back to the way it was before? I mean, other than making this code more organized because it's a mess. I mean, it's a mess just in the sort order of the methods. It's fine. It's good. It's much better code than it used to be. Yeah, maybe I will do a little sorting here. I'll move these methods to the end. Although they are kind of more related to the stuff at the top. I don't know. I'll move them to the end. We'll just get these in groups and then we can rearrange the group order. So in main, we had online match callbacks. That's what all of these are. So we'll go bam. Those are labeled. These are game callbacks and stuff. Scene start, restart. Yeah. Let's bring this down. Do we just have the one UI callback? This may be up to the top. Main has this UI callbacks. Is it really callbacks? It's like callbacks and methods. I don't know. And then like gameplay stuff, which we removed the heading for that from main already. I'll just get diff to see what it was. It's quiet out in Chatland today. If you're watching, please feel free to say hi, so I know I'm not talking into the void. The last 2 streams were quite lively. Lots of folks talking, and oop, that's not what I wanted. This one's a very quiet stream. Say hi and let me know if you want to play test the game, because it is a multiplayer game. We can drive some tanks around and try to kill each other. Okay, so this is like startup stuff. Although, yeah, I'll keep it up there because it's like startup stuff, gameplay methods and callbacks. Which I think I like having that at the end because that's what we'll work on the most. And this stuff I'm going to put up at the beginning because it mostly has to do with starting and stopping matches. So, there. Okay, this will be easier for me to navigate. And I think it follows the same order that we had over in main. UI callbacks, online match callbacks. Yeah, okay, cool. So now instead of 1 mega scene, we have 2 smaller scenes, which I'll hope to get even smaller still. I think this is committable. I think we can commit this to Git. Let me just test it one more time. We'll make sure practice mode works and I can quit it. Let's create a private match just because we haven't done that in a little while. Ooh, that's not right. There we go. All right, and let's make sure quitting works. Dsnopic wins this round because I quit. Why didn't it say that I left first? I feel like it should have said Dsnopic has left and then Dsnopic has won. Because there's supposed to be a delay. No, there isn't a delay, and I guess there wasn't before either. Was there? Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. We don't need to make it better than it was. We need to make it the same as it was. All right, so quitting works. All that we're missing from the old way of doing things is the score. And maybe I'll commit even without that. Just because this is good working code, I would like to commit it, so if I end up having to revert some things later, I can fall back to this state. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Let's commit this. Take a look at git status. What did I do to peer status? I don't remember changing that at all. Let's look at this one. Oh, just some sizing stuff? Okay, yeah, that just changes from viewing it because the container will lay it out slightly differently. That's fine. I hate committing these like just random junk changes, but I'm not gonna mess around with it now. Diff staged. So looking at main, we're seeing a lot of code disappearing. So fabulous. This is in the match scene. Seeing a lot of code from main. Oh, I shouldn't yawn on stream. That's bad. That's bad. Don't yawn on stream. Staying up too late coding on this, so I'm sorry about that. Okay, this is good. Say got a new match scene mostly working. Push that out. And next up, we need to create that bit of UI, which we'll stick here under this screens node once we've made it. How are we doing on? I have this weird GIMP message covering up my computer clock. Let me try and get rid of that. There, now I can see my computer clock. Okay, so we need to make a new screen. I know I said I wouldn't do this. I think I am going to copy this just to get the same size on this panel. I'm going to delete everything else. Don't worry. So let's make a new folder to store like the sub scenes of not open. New folder of the match scene. So we're going to call it match. And inside of match, we're going to make a new, I guess it's going to be a node 2D. Or is it? No, it's going to be control. And this is asking me for the name anyway. Man, I need sleep. So this is, call it round screen. I don't want to call it score screen because there might be like a, cumulative score that we care about later. Although maybe we could use the same. No, I don't know. I could call it that and then we could reuse it in both spots, but let's just stick with this for now. I'm so bad at naming things. Naming is the worst. All right, so this is a control node. Or no, I just like a second ago said I was going to copy that other screen. What am I doing? Okay, main screens. We're going to duplicate the ready screen. Duplicate. It's going to be round screen. And we're going to move it to this new match folder we just made. We're going to rename it. Or it's already renamed. Beautiful. Name this round screen. Detach the script. Delete everything. Be gone. All right. So we're going to need something kind of like peer status, which actually we can simplify peer status. We can remove the score label entirely. I'll deal with simplifying later. Oh, though, we do want this host icon, which we have on peer status. We don't want status. Do we want to try and reuse peer status in some way? Because I don't want to do the thing we're doing right now where we, like, between every round, having to say, I'm ready. Because that is tedious. It is tedious. It's nice having a break. And so maybe we allow the host the option to control when the next round starts. Although rounds, like, should be short anyway, right? We don't need to have a big long wait between rounds, maybe between matches. So the thing is, because we're using this host icon in both places, it makes me want to, like, reuse this. But do we reuse it? Is that more trouble than it's worth? Because we just need host, name, and score. And peer status really just needs name, host, and status. What if the status label could be reused as a score label? And we get rid of score. And it's just like set this arbitrary string to appear next to the names. And that would make for a much cleaner view here too, right? Because we have the score on this side and the status on this side. So then we'd end up with just the user and the either status or score over here with the host icon next to it. I think that's a good idea. So we're gonna cut up peer status into a new thing, which actually, before we cut, let's just duplicate it, make our changes, and then we can go back later to ready screen to have it use the new thing, which let's not call peer status. We'll call it like player status. I'm so bad at names. Yeah. Let's call it player status. We'll put it in this UI folder rather than under main screens because we're going to reuse it in both places. So let's start by duplicating peer status to player status. And we'll also duplicate the GD script file. I'll have to remember to detach and reattach that, which I always forget. Player status. Move these over here. And the thing I always forget, let's do it right away. So even though we duplicated both of those, player status is still attached to peer status, to the peer status script. So we need to detach the old script and attach the new script. Player status. Beautiful. So we're getting rid of score. That's not a thing anymore. Everything is status. Yeah, and we'll start with status just blank because we don't know what's going to go there. Extract score from here. Status and status label. Okay, yeah, I guess to make the getter and setter less weird. Score. Get rid of. And host on and off. Okay, so this is shorter, better, more productive. Let's go get rid of score from here. Now we just have host icon, user, and status, which we can leave that because that's reset in the beginning anyway, or at least I think it is. Let me go check what happens in the ready function. Initialize. Are we always calling initialize? I guess we must be. Okay. So, in our new bit of UI, which is here, or not here, we don't have a script for it yet. So let's see though what it needs to go on this panel. We need a VBox container to hold all of our player statuses. We'll throw one in here. Actually, let me first make this take up the full rectangle. We'll instance a player status to give us an idea. And maybe we don't want this to take up the full rectangle. Maybe we want this to be center wide, like that. So then it'll grow depending on how many players are in there. Does that make sense? Yeah, let's roll with that for now. So we'll need a new script here. Which I think I'm going to look at least the initialization process of the ready screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to do show screen, and it's going to take the player score. All of this clearing and gibberish here. Wow. We're not going to have a button. It's just going to show up for a couple of seconds and then go away. It actually reminds me, in the match scene, are we making sure that this timer is only happening? No, this is happening on all clients. So restart is not what we want to happen here. Or maybe it's okay because maybe the remote operations is making sure that this is only done by the host and not by everybody. It would make me feel better if we checked that again here. It's like is network server. There we go. Yeah, so only the network server will restart it, and then this stuff will happen. All right. Got distracted a little bit there, but I think that's a good improvement. I still have this stuff copied? Okay. So the info, we want players score. Players score. Don't care about any of this stuff. We're always going to clear players. So let's just do that up at the top. I think we're always going to clear players. Just rebuild it every time we show it. And then we're going to say, we're not messing with session ID. We want to think in peer ID as much as we can. So we're going to go over the players according to online match. For player in online match players values. And we need to get their score. So we're going to add a player. We're going to add them by yeah. So username. Oh, and that's this one is checking if they're the host. And then in here we want to put the score. So players score, player peer ID. And if there's nothing in there, on the off chance that there is nothing in there, we'll return 0 so we don't cause a problem. And this is probably expecting a well, no, in the context of this, we're always dealing with score, so we can let that be an integer. Don't have to deal with match ID, that's not a thing for us. Okay, now we just need to write some of these methods to clear the players. And to add a player, I'll just write the method signature really quick. Username, string, score, int, is host, bool. All right. So if anyone's just joining and wants to playtest the game, it's an online multiplayer game. Just let me know in chat. We can play the web version, or if you want a Steam key to play the Steam version, I'd love to test the Steam version. But for that, you'll need to join the Discord. The link's below, and DM me there so I can send you the Steam key privately. It's fine. Okay, I'm gonna steal a little bit more of this code from here so I don't have to write it again. So clear players does this stuff, which means we need something to be the container, status container. Let's our round screen. We'll rename this to status container. Grab a reference to it. Button's not a thing. Okay, that clears the players. Let's steal some code for adding the player. Yeah, we don't need to do this the same way. I wonder why. I guess because it's all the different uses. Like that UI is used in so many different cases, and that's why I'm worried about maintaining the persistent nodes there, not just rebuilding it every time. Here we can just rebuild it every time. It's fine. Let's rebuild it. We don't care about name. Initialize. Oh, I need to get a reference to player status. Player status. Initializing it to username. Is that all that's in there in initialize? Status. Yeah. I mean, we don't need this initialize method. This is... I guess we want to initialize the score to 0, I think. Or no, we have the score, so we can do string score. Yeah, okay. Alright, so this UI screen should theoretically work. User and a status. Let's go put it in the match scene. I'll attach it here under screens. That was round screen. And yeah, of course, hide it here. And we need to show it. So as soon as the match ends, we want to show the screen. I mean, it'd be kind of nice to give a little bit of a delay so that the winner can do a little victory dance or something. So maybe another 2 seconds. And then we can do UI layer, show screen, round screen. And we need to pass in the player's score. That should be enough. Let's go try it. All right, my long drive to go kill my clone here. Wins this round, 2 seconds. Score is wrong, and then it goes here. All right, that looked terribly ugly, and the score was wrong. So let's see what we can do. So the score should have been tabulated here. It does seem to be getting the right score because when we tested if it quit after the whole match, like it got it right. Why do we pass in the score here? It's so random. We don't need to do that. I also wonder why we're passing in the username and not just passing in the ID. I guess maybe the thinking was that this is coming from the host, and then this would be looking it up on the individual client. But still, like it seems like we could just pass. We could just pass the ID of the one who won. Player session. Doing anything with player session? No. Let's clean up this code. Delete most of this. We're just going to pass in the, say, winner peer ID. Maybe just peer ID. So passing in the peer ID. Why are you complaining at me? Peer ID, oh, because that isn't a thing. Player ID, and then here we'll call it peer ID. And we can look up the name ourselves. We know things. Match players, or no, we wrote that method earlier, get player by peer ID, and then username. So that will print out the name. We wait for a little bit. Player score. Why is player score wrong? Are we failing to set it? I think looking at this code, it should be right. Let's go look at ready screen. No, not ready screen, round screen, which we're using now. Oh, I'm just passing in 0? Why am I doing that? Okay, player score, player peer ID. So we're gonna grab, or no. We are looking it up. Man, this sleep deprivation is getting to me. We are looking it up. We're doing it right here. Player score, player peer ID. 0 if we have nothing. Checking if the peer ID is 1 to see if it's the host. Oh, are we not passing it in right? Let's go check that out. That must be. Yeah, it needs to be passed in this dictionary. Player score. There. That'll be the ticket. Yeah, we need to shrink the values into the middle here, whereas we have them stretched out on the round screen. I'll have to see exactly how the ready screen is doing that. Just copy that over. Wins this round, 2 seconds. Score of 1 and a score of 0. Oh, man. You know what it is? It's that we're looking up the score for ourselves. I was wondering why we were passing in the score. I know why we were passing in the score now. Because we were looking up for ourselves on the client, whereas it's the host that's keeping track of the score. So let's go back here. We pass in so show winner has to show we need to pass in the peer ID. We need to pass in the player's score, which this should just shadow over the normal player score. There. Let's try that. Always got to remember if you're being the client or if you're being the host or if one bit of code's going to run on both. Networking, or I guess network multiplayer. It's tricky stuff. And 2 seconds, and the score's still wrong. That's interesting. How could that be? So we know that the... Oh, because it's shadowing. I should give it a totally different name, so that I don't get confused. We'll say host player score. Host player score. That way, if I mistype host's player score, it'll give me an error rather than just silently taking the other value in the background. I gotta quit this one. Wins the round. 2 seconds. Correct score. And then the round starts over. Beautiful. Now we just have to make that window look less like garbage. Which, by the way, I didn't mention this in the beginning when I was talking about things I've been working on. I have been working on a rework of the UI theme, but I didn't want to merge it while I was still waiting for Steam to approve my build. Because if they came back with more feedback of things that I had to change, I didn't want like a half-done UI rework to be in there. But I can show you guys. Show you. And then when I finish it, of course, it'll be in the actual game build. I think I'll try and work on that this next week. Let me find a good place to show this. Let's jump over to one of the screens from main. Maybe... I don't know. Match screen? What's match screen look like? Sure, this is fine. And let's see if this works. I tried to show this to Elliot the other day, and it was like all the references were broken in the theme, and I think I fixed them. I think I did that. Where do I have these? I have these under assets. So this is my half-done UI theme, which I think looks way better. It's closer to the kind of pixel art aesthetic that Retro Tank Party generally has, and you know, the default Godot theme is designed for a very specific resolution. Like, I am not sure what that resolution is, but like these edges on these buttons look like garbage if you're making a game with a resolution that's too big or too small. And yeah, these colors, you know, aren't great either. So I think this does a better job of looking good at our resolution. Like, look at that. You come in here and nice clean lines. And I'm not totally sure on the colors, actually. I'm thinking about making the gray darker and like putting like little screw circles around it, so it kind of looks like plating that was screwed in, which I think would be kind of cool. Going a little bit with the kind of tank aesthetic. But yeah, that's still a work in progress. It looks pretty nice on the settings screen too, actually. Where's the settings screen? That's not exposed in enough places. Okay, here we go. Settings screen. Although these controls will look wrong because this is a custom control, so the theme doesn't actually change it. I'll have to redo the styling on that theme, like in the custom scene that makes it. I grabbed the wrong one. Or no, I didn't. That was the right one. Why didn't anything change? What? Should have changed. Oh, because I have it set at the panel level? That's weird. Okay, there we go. So these controls look wrong. I'll need to replace that white arrow, I think, with a dark gray colored arrow to fit. But I like the way these sliders look way better than the existing sliders, which the existing sliders are kind of like halfway there. I put this kind of slidey thing on the original theme, just as kind of half measure. So it looks better than the default Godot ones. Like if I remove this entirely, yeah, there we go. Default Godot sliders look terrible at this resolution. They look perfectly fine if you're operating at the resolution that they're intended to be used at. But anyway, let me just undo all the damage I did to all of those screens and go back to what I was working on. Okay. We were talking about doing the round screen, making the round screen look less like garbage. So I wanted to see how exactly this is positioned. So it looks like it's anchored to the center, which makes sense. So probably I did a min size. I didn't do a min size. I should do a min size and anchor it to the center. Let's go check out round screen. Yeah, let's anchor to the center. Change the width a little bit. Let's make what the ready screen has as its width as the min width. So take 600, round screen, correct, min width, 600, and then I guess we'll make this one be 602. I think it'll expand if it needs more space. I hope. We'll center it, and that will hopefully look a little nicer. Let's just try it really quick. Again, to the folks in chat, if anyone wants to play test the game, it's an online multiplayer game. We can get in a match together and shoot each other in tanks. Take it through its paces. There's a web build that's pretty easy to use, and also a Steam build that I would love to test. I'll give you a Steam key if you come on the Discord and ask for one. So I feel like this is too low. Like it's not centering. It's just adding more to it from where it was. So I think what we want to do is we want to make this the height that it would be with all 4 player statuses in. So we'll go 4 player statuses, and then we're going to center it. And this should look good. When it's full or not. Let me try that. Again, all these UIs are going to be redone, hopefully next week. I really want to get like a good polish pass, making everything in here look less janky, so that if I don't get any new features done, I can just release it in whatever state it's in when April 20th comes around. Because I can always add more features, but if it's a janky, nasty experience, people are just going to try it once and give up. I don't want that. I want people to give it a shot. Yeah, I think that's fine for now. That's fine. Before the UI sweep. So let's see. Let's look at market status. Diff is looking pretty good. Yeah, the changes to the match script are mostly bug fixes and a little bit of cleanup up here, showing the player score on the round screen. Just adding the round screen, the round screen's code itself, round screen scene, new player status scene we added. And yeah, in my theme messing around, I found out that that panel had a theme on it for no reason. It was unnecessary, since the parent had a theme on it too. So that all looks good. So this would be show score in between rounds. I think we can safely say that this new refactored version has all of like the same workflow without the annoying clicking of the ready screen stuff that we had before we started refactoring. It still needs a ton of testing. Like I mentioned early on, you know, swapping out the main scene for the match scene on all clients synchronized such that nobody is sending any RPC messages until that change is fully complete is something that makes me very nervous. I'm worried that like when one of the clients is working a little bit slower or has an error or something, it's just going to create crashes and instability, which is why I really need help playtesting. If you're interested in playtesting, not just now during stream, but just in general, join the Discord, ping me, and we're doing daily playtests to really try and get the bugs that I'm probably adding on stream right now worked out. So we have about 20 minutes until I'm going to go eat some lunch. What can we get done in 20 minutes? So the next logical thing, like the next thing that I want to work on is I just drew a line. Is oh, someone pinged in playtesting. Haha. So David on Discord can only listen. I think he's working or doing something while he's listening. Yeah, would have been great for you to playtest, David. Hopefully we can find a time not on stream where we can do some playtesting. Anyway, the next thing I want to work on is adding another scene between these two. So I'm adjusting my diagram here. Which will allow the host to configure the match settings. So I don't know exactly what to call it. What did I call it in my notes? You can see I drew essentially this same picture in my notebook. I have to open up OBS so I can even see if I'm putting this in the center of the screen. But scribbled it at 12 a.m. You know, middle of the night thoughts. But I called it match setup. That is so very creative of a name. So the idea would be that the main, which I think we're not going to call main anymore, now that it's no longer the main thing, what did I call it in my notes? Online setup? Either like online setup or session setup or something like that, because its job is just getting a session going with you and some other players, is then going to hand off to the match setup scene, which is going to have the UIs where the host will say, we're going to do like soccer mode or deathmatch mode or whatever mode. And then go to another screen where we'll pick, okay, so you want to do this mode, these two maps apply, so you pick which map. If you chose to do teams, like, okay, then there would be another screen where, you know, the different players divide themselves up into the two teams. And then once that's all done, it hands off to this match scene here. And once the match is complete, it would send you back to the, let's get this elbow connector going. Can I go like this? Hey, there we go. So it's sort of create a little loop here between the match scene and the match setup scene until the players are done. And then they quit from there, which will boot them back to the online setup screen where they can get into a match with other players. And so the next thing that I want to work on is this match setup screen, which will allow us to pick some stuff And then I'm going to do a little bit more refactoring. Where did I put Godot? So we were refactoring today from the main scene into this match scene. And I'm going to take all of the stuff in here that has to do with like tracking the score, showing the winner. Well, maybe not showing the winner, because that'd probably be pretty generic. No, it needs to be different, because like this also deals with rounds and like how long a round is. Whereas like some modes might not even have rounds. Like you could imagine a mode where you just battle for 5 minutes, and whoever racks up the most kills is the winner. So you just keep respawning and battling until it's done. So there's no rounds. You just get a winner at the end of the 5 minutes. So anyway, everything that has to do with like winning, yeah, these two methods here, yeah, on when the player is dead and it says you lose as a message, all of that stuff is going to be moved into a separate like match type object, or like a match manager object, something like that. I haven't come up with a good name yet, so that we can swap it out for these different modes. So those two things are like the big things that I want to do next, because I just desperately want to get game modes into this. But I don't think those are good things to start when I have 14 minutes left to go on this stream. Yeah, maybe, how about this? Let's say if anyone out there who's watching the stream wants to play test, say something in the chat on YouTube or in the Discord, and we'll set up like a quick match on stream to close things out. And if no one does, I'll just end the stream a little bit early. I am so tired anyway. Making myself be this presentable for this long after getting so little sleep last night is hard enough as it is. So yeah. Any of those folks out there in chat, let me know in chat or on Discord if you want to play test. We can do the web version. Maybe that's easiest. Otherwise, I really do want to get some tests of the Steam version. I'll give a Steam key if you come in Discord and say so. Let me just I have a little OBS thing I can show the link to get to the web version. Let me switch that out. There we go. So this bit.ly link that should now appear, or this way below, we'll go to the web version of the game. If anyone wants to get in, I will go create a match right now and throw the match ID in there into the chat so that folks can join if they want to. So this web version is not the same version we were just working on. Unfortunately, I'm doing it in a different branch, so it's not going into my whole auto build thing. What did I do? Did I totally break this? I hope I didn't totally break it. Then we might have to play the Steam version. The Steam version works. Wow. I did something that broke this. Okay. All right. I'll give it 1 more minute. If anyone wants to play test with me, go on Discord. Ping me. I'll send you a Steam key. We can play the Steam version. After the stream, I will figure out how I broke the web build, and we'll get that fixed. Let's get Metro Tank Party booted up here. No takers? All right, well, I think I'm going to end it a couple minutes, 10 minutes, I guess, early this week. Thanks everyone for watching. I will be doing like another devlog this weekend with a, compressed version of all the progress that was made in this week and the plans for next week. So, yeah. Talk to you then. Talk to you in Discord. Take care.